Good morning, one and all. So now that we have done and completed with theory aspect, so we'll be taking spotters, and myself, Dr. Rameshandra, will be taking spotters to you. So in exams, practicals, we have spotters, clinical problems, and then criticize, correct, and rewriting. Apart from that, we do have prescriptions also. So to begin with, I'll be taking spotters. So have a look at this picture, this eminent personality. So he is none other than Sir Ramnath Chopra. He is an Indian who worked as a doctor in military hospitals in the British Empire. So he was born in 17th August 1882 in Gujranwala, which is located in Punjab in Pakistan. So he was born on 17th August 1882. He was an Indian medical service officer and a doyen of science and medicine in India. He is father of Indian pharmacology for his work on pharmaceuticals and his quest for self-sufficiency of drugs in India. He has written a couple of books by name Books Chopra, Indigenous Drugs of India. So, he was born on 17th August 1882. He was an Indian medical service officer who was working as a military doctor, and then he was promoted as a major in military services in military. He is a father of Indian pharmacology for his work on pharmaceuticals. And he has written a couple of books like Books Chopra, Indigenous Drugs of India. So you now take down, look at the picture once again. He is none other than Sir Ramnath Chopra. Right. Now have a look at this picture. So he is one of the eminent personalities, a pharmacologist, a microbiologist, and he is called as a boon to medicine for his invention of a famous drug called penicillinum or penicillin, which was discovered accidentally in his laboratory. So he is none other than Sir Alexander Fleming. So he was born on August 6th, 1881. He was a Scottish physician, a famous microbiologist as well as a pharmacologist. So a couple of his discoveries are, he discovered an enzyme lysozyme, and the world's first antibiotic substance, benzyl penicillinum, benzyl penicillin from penicillin was discovered by him, for which he was awarded Nobel Prize in 1945, along with a couple of other famous personalities like Howard Florey, Ernst Bolzheim. He was also awarded with the greatest award by the British Empire as Sir. So he is called as, for that reason, he is called as Sir Alexander Fleming. He was awarded the knighthood as to him, and he is called as Sir Alexander Fleming. So his discovery of penicillin was accidental. So on 3rd September 1928, Fleming, after a weekend vacation, returned to his laboratory, having so before leaving for his holiday, he inoculated staphylococci on culture plates and left them on a bench in the corner of his laboratory. So before going to a weekend vacation, Sir Alexander Fleming, he inoculated staphylococci and cultural plates. So he left staphylococci and cultural plates, and then he went out for a vacation. So after he came back to his laboratory, he noticed that one of the culture contaminated fungus, and the colonies of Staphylococcus aureus surrounding the fungus has been destroyed. So wherever the fungus, there was a growth of fungus, so hence the staphylococci was not to be seen over there. So the fungus surrounding the staphylococci was immediately killed or destroyed, whereas other staphylococcus colonies farther away were normal. And this was an accidental discovery by Sir Alexander Fleming, and thus penicillin came into use. So this penicillin was very much extensively used in the Second World War, and it has saved the lives of many soldiers. So for this reason, he was awarded Nobel Peace Prize for his work in physiology as well as medicine. And apart from that, he, he was also awarded knighthood by the British Empire. So now take down the notes. So this is Sir Alexander Fleming. Have a look at the picture once again. And he was born on August 6, 1881. He was a Scottish physician, a famous eminent microbiologist as well as a pharmacologist. And he discovered enzyme lysozyme and the world's first antibiotic substance, benzyl penicillin, from Penicillium notatum, which is a fungus, was discovered by him. It was an accidental discovery. So before going out for a vacation, he left this colony of staphylococci around Penicillium notatum. After he came back, he noticed that he left that, and after coming back, he noticed that the colony which was surrounding the Penicillium notatum was destroyed or killed, whereas which were kept farther away without Penicillium notatum. So there were colonies which have grown extensively. So he observed, and then he developed the first antibiotic called penicillin, for which he was awarded Nobel Peace Prize along with a couple of other doctors. And then he was awarded knighthood by the British Empire, and hence he is called as Sir Alexander Fleming. Now look at this chart. Identify this. Take down the chart. I'll give you some time. Meanwhile, you take down the chart, and then soon after you enter into the hall, you need to identify the chart, and then you need to write down so 2 points about this chart. So the question asked is identify this drug and what is its action on blood pressure. So identify the chart once again, take down the chart. Yes. Okay. Right. So the given drug is acetylcholine, which is a parasympathetic drug and a neurotransmitter in cholinergic system. So it acts on muscarinic as well as nicotinic receptors. As such, this drug has got no therapeutic uses and can cause fall in blood pressure. So if at all you want to score more marks in your theory paper or in practicals in Viva hours, you need to deliver more or you need to add more points. Since it is a spotter, so this is all we do. But apart from this, we'll go into some of the details of acetylcholine. So it is an acetic ester of choline, and acetylcholine is synthesized in the axon terminal by acetylation of choline with acetyl-CoA enzyme. The reaction is catalyzed by the cytosolic enzyme called choline acetyl transferase. So as I've told you, acetylcholine is a parasympathetic drug, which is also neurotransmitter to cholinergic system. So it acts on muscarinic receptors and nicotinic receptors. You must all be knowing what are the muscarinic receptors and nicotinic receptors. So muscarinic are M1, M2, M3, and M4 and M5. M4 and M5 are of not much use, whereas M1, M2, and M3 are of importance, clinical importance or significance. And then apart from this, they also act on nicotinic receptors. They are NN and NM. As such, this drug has got no therapeutic use or therapeutic value. Can cause a fall in blood pressure. So it is an acid ester of choline. So it's synthesized in the axon terminal by acylation of choline with acetyl-CoA enzyme. And this action or this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme called as choline acetyl transferase. So where it is stored? So after synthesis, it has to be stored in some place. So where it is stored? So once formed in the axon cytosol, acetylcholine actively transported into the vesicle by another carrier medium or another carrier called as vesicle associated transport VAT. Right. This stored acetylcholine has to be released to have some actions. So the arrival of action potential at the nerve terminal. So whenever there is an action potential at the nerve terminal, so this causes an influx of calcium ions, thereby triggering the release of acetylcholine by exocytosis. So once it is stored, synthesized, stored, and released. So released is mainly carried by a development of an action potential, which causes an influx of calcium ions, which triggers the release of acetylcholine by exocytosis. So what are the actions of this acetylcholine different receptors? As I've told you, it acts on nicotinic receptors, and then it acts on muscarinic receptors. So nicotinic receptors are namely NN and NM. So NM are located at the neuromuscular junction, whereas NM at all autonomic ganglia. So activation of these NM receptors results in contraction of skeletal muscle, while that of NN receptor provides the transmission of impulse to autonomic ganglia. So muscarinic receptors, we do have three subtypes. Totally, there are five, but M4, M1, M4, and M5 are not much used. So there are three subtypes, M1, M1, and M3. So M1 are found in the sympathetic ganglia and gastric parietal cells and in cerebral cortex as well. And M2 are mainly located on myocardium, on some smooth muscles, and also on presynaptic terminals. So what are the actions of these receptors? Acetylcholine. So acetylcholine acts through muscarinic receptors. So action of acetylcholine through muscarinic receptors. So this can be remembered very easily by a code called MIS, LUT, and DHR. So the code stands for meiosis. S stands for salivation, lacrimation, urination, bronchial constriction, defecation, and decrease in heart rate. So this is how you can remember the actions of acetylcholine through muscarinic receptors. That is, it can be easily remembered by a code called MIS, LUBD, and DHR. The code stands for meiosis, salivation, lacrimation, urination, bronchoconstriction, defecation, decrease in heart rate. Right. So now identify this chart. So meanwhile, if at all you have not taken the chart, draw the chart, draw down the chart, and take down the questions. I'll give you some time. Right. So if at all you want to score more marks in the theory or in practical viva voce, so you need to tell all this. So how it is stored, how it is synthesized, how it is released, and what are its actions on. How does acetylcholine act through muscarinic receptors? So how does it act? And you need to write its metabolism also apart from this. So you need to write all this. So then only you will be awarded marks. If you have taken this down, we'll move on to the next one. Look at this picture, look at this structure. Identify. So the questions asked are identify the drug, mention one, clinical use. So it's an important drug which is used, a life-saving drug should be said. I should say that. So this is none other than adrenaline. So look at the picture again. You take it down. I'll give you some time. The questions asked are identify the drug, mention one clinical use. Right. So the drug given above is a catecholamine, a sympathetic drug and a catecholamine. It is adrenaline. It's a life-saving drug. So it's mainly used in the treatment of anaphylactic shock. Apart from this, it's also used in the treatment of bronchial asthma and in the treatment of cardiac arrest. Okay. So it is otherwise called as epinephrine. Adrenaline is otherwise called as epinephrine, which is primarily secreted from adrenal medulla, that is 80 to 90%, along with non-adrenaline. So its effects on the cardiovascular system. On the heart, there is an increase in heart rate as well as force of contraction. So it mainly acts through beta 1 and beta 2, which is followed by reflex bradycardia due to compensatory vagal discharge as a consequence of the rise of blood pressure. So on the vascular effects on the heart, there is increase in heart rate as well as force of contraction, which is mainly mediated through beta 1 and beta 2 effects. So vascular effects, epinephrine constricts arterioles in the skin, mucous membrane, viscera as well as renal bloods. And then the blood pressure. So blood pressure in moderate doses produces a biphasic response. So you must all know this. This is very important. So in moderate doses, it produces biphasic response. So adrenaline produces dose-dependent effects. So in moderate doses, adrenaline produces biphasic response, as I've told you. That is, there is an increase in blood pressure due to alpha-1 receptor and beta-1 receptor stimulation. So this results in an increase in systolic blood pressure rather than diastolic blood pressure. So as a result, subsequently, as the plasma concentration of adrenaline decreases, the beta-2 effects are unmasked, as beta-2 receptors are more sensitive than alpha-1 receptors, and response here is lower dose of adrenaline. As a result, the mean blood pressure falls below normal. This is due to the vasodilation of skeletal muscle blood vessels, that is predominant beta-2 effect. This response is called as biphasic response of adrenaline to the blood pressure raising. So this adrenaline causes biphasic response. So adrenaline, when given in doses which produces dose effects, or adrenaline produces effects which are dose dependent. And in moderate doses, whenever adrenaline is given in moderate doses, it produces biphasic response. That is, there will be initially an increase in blood pressure, then followed by fall in blood pressure. So this fall in blood pressure. So an increase in blood pressure is due to its action on alpha-1 receptors and beta-1 receptor stimulation. So initially there will be an increase in blood pressure because of its action on alpha-1 as well as beta-1 receptors. So this increases mainly the systolic blood pressure rather than diastolic blood pressure. As a result, there is the plasma concentration of adrenaline decreases. The beta-2 effects are unmasked, as these beta-2 receptors are more sensitive even with a small amount of adrenaline or with low dose of adrenaline. As a result, the mean blood pressure falls below normal. This is due to the vasodilation of skeletal muscles, which occurs because of beta-2 effect. So this is called as biphasic response of adrenaline. Apart from this, it also acts on bronchial smooth muscles. So action on smooth muscles, it causes powerful bronchodilation, mainly mediated to beta-2 effects, and decrease in bronchial secretions, which acts through alpha-1 because of decrease in microcirculation. So on the whole, it causes decrease in bronchial resistance. So on the urinary tract, there is relaxation of detrusor muscles with contraction of trigone and sphincter. So micturition is therefore hindered. So should be used judiciously in benign prostatic hyperplasia patients. And metabolic effects, it causes hyperglycemia due to glycogenolysis in liver. It increases fatty acids due to lipolysis. It causes an inhibition of insulin release, and it causes a rise in BMR as well as, and there will be CVS effects, and then it also raises body temperature. So mainly useful in the treatment of anaphylactic shock, as I've told you before, and then used in the bronchial asthma since it is a powerful bronchodilator. Apart from this, it's also used in cardiac patients, mainly used for cardiac resuscitation. So the intracardiac injection of epinephrine, that is 0.1 mg per ml, can be used to reverse sudden cardiac arrest. And apart from this, it's also used to prolong the duration of local anesthetic action and to control epistaxis. And it has got some adverse effects: an increase in blood pressure may lead to cerebral hemorrhage, increase in cardiac work, and contractility may lead to coronary insufficiency. And it can also manifest CNS side effects, which include tremors, anxiety, as well as headaches. So it has got some contraindications: not to be used in hypothyroidism patients, and to be used or to be contraindicated in angina as and hypertensive patients. Right. So I hope you have understood this. This drug, adrenaline, it causes biphasic response. Apart from this, it has got other pharmacological actions, like it has on the blood pressure, it shows biphasic response. On the bronchial smooth muscle, it causes bronchodilation. It has got a couple of metabolic effects. It causes hyperglycemia. It increases free fatty acid levels. It causes inhibition of release of insulin. And then it has got therapeutic uses, which are of most important. This drug is otherwise called as a life-saving drug. It's mainly used in the treatment of allergy, as I've told you, and as well as in the bronchial asthma treatment, since it's a powerful bronchodilator. It is used in cardiac arrest, it's used in cardiac resuscitation in patients who have developed cardiac arrest. And apart from this, it's also used to prolong duration of local anesthetic action, and has got some adverse effects. To mention some, they increase blood pressure and may lead to cerebral hemorrhage, increase in cardiac work and contractility may lead to coronary insufficiency. They develop tremors, anxiety, and headaches as CNS manifestations. To be contraindicated hypothyroidism patients, as well as in angina, as well as hypertensive patients. Either. Look at this picture. So it is also a catecholamine, non-catecholamine. So look at this picture. It is a catecholamine. It is mainly used to increase blood pressure, mainly used in the treatment of hypotension to elevate blood pressures. So this is none other than not epinephrine nor adrenaline. So you take on the picture. So the questions asked are: identify the structure, mention the route of administration of the drug. Right. So the above chart given is noradrenaline. As I've told you, it is a catecholamine and a neurotransmitter adrenergic system. And it has got a direct cardiac stimulant action and constricts the blood vessels. So it is one of the drugs which is used to elevate blood pressures in a case of hypotension. So apart from this, noradrenaline, we do use a couple of other drugs like dopamine and all. But this drug, noradrenaline, is very much extensively used to increase the blood pressure, as in a case of hypotension. So it has got a direct cardiac stimulant action and constricts the blood vessels. Hence, you tend to see an increase in blood pressure, and administer mainly through IV infusion. So you take down the chart, and the questions asked are: identify the structure, mention the route of administration of the drug. So this drug is a noradrenaline. It is a catecholamine, a neurotransmitter in the adrenergic system. So it has got direct stimulant action on heart, as well as it causes constriction of the blood vessels. and hence tends to rise blood pressure and is used in the treatment of hypotension in seriously ill patients, and it's administered through IV infusion. Right. So identify the structure. So it is a antibacterial agent. So the questions asked are identify the drug, mention its adverse effects. So this is none other than sulfonamide. So look at the picture, take down the picture. So you can easily identify the drug with the presence of an NH2 group, thiol group, NH2 group. And then, so the drug is a sulfonamide. The drug is a sulfonamide. It is an antibacterial agent. So it is mainly used in the treatment of toxoplasmosis, inflammatory bowel disease, chancroid, as well as trachoma. So adverse reactions are it causes allergic skin rash, drug fever, an increase in eosinophilia, and then severe exudative type of erythema, multiform, and then it also causes Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So what is the action of this drug? So basically this compound, sulfonamides, they exhibit a structural similarity to para-amino benzoic acid. So the sulfonamides, because of the structural activity or structural similarity to PABA, they compete with a substitute for the bacterial metabolism. That is, bacteria to develop, they need folic acid. So these sulfonamides, they have structure similar to PABA. So this folic acid, bacteria derive this folic acid from para-amino-benzoic acid. So they have got the structural similarity to para-amino-benzoic acid. So this para-amino-benzoic acid, it has to get converted to dihydrofolic acid in presence of folic acid synthase. If this dihydrofolic acid gets converted to dihydrofolic acid or folic acid, which is carried out by dihydrofolic acid reductase. So this is otherwise called as sequential steps. So this PABA, which has got structure similar to sulfonamides, hence sulfonamides, they inhibit the step, the sequential blockade. They inhibit the step. So what they do is they act on the enzyme which catalyzes the conversion of PABA to dihydrofolic acid, that is folic acid synthase. So they block the step folic acid synthase. They block the enzyme folic acid synthase. Hence, dihydrofolic acid is not synthesized. The so-formed dihydrofolic acid, if at all the sulfonamides are not present, the so-formed dihydrofolic acid is again inhibited by trimethoprim. Hence, folic acid is not formed. So the whole thing, so since PABA is a precursor for folic acid, this folic acid is used by the bacteria for its structural proteins or for its development. So this PABA and sulfonamides have structural similarity, and sulfonamides act on folic acid synthase, which helps in the conversion of PABA to dihydrofolic acid and then to folinic acid or folic acid. So this is otherwise called as sequential blockade. So pharmacological actions, they are effective mainly against a variety of gram-positive as well as gram-negative organisms and certain chlamydia. And then these are mainly bacteriostatic, but occasionally in high concentration, they can be bactericidal, particularly in the treatment of urinary tract, they can be of use. So absorption and fate, these are basically absorbed very rapidly from the GI tract and from the small intestine. And 70 to 90% dose reaches the bloodstream. In the blood, these drugs are bound to plasma proteins. So proteins binding to sulfonamides is important for several reactions. So as I've told you, They are mainly used in the treatment of toxoplasmosis, inflammatory bowel disease, chancroid, and then trachoma. So the structure given is estradiol. So it is a female reproductive hormone and a natural estrogen. Look at the structure again. Draw down the structure. Right. So the drug is estradiol. It is a female reproductive hormone and a natural estrogen. So it's mainly used in oral contraceptive pills along with progesterone. It is also used in hormone replacement therapy in menopausal women, and it restores calcium balance. So look at the picture again, draw down the picture. So whenever they ask you this, you need to write a couple of points about it. You need to identify the drug and then mention its clinical use. Right. So now take down the structure. This is testosterone. So the above given chart is the drug is testosterone. So it's mainly used in treatment of hypogonadism. So the drug is testosterone. It is a male reproductive hormone and a natural androgen, mainly used in the replacement therapy in men with hypogonadism. So apart from this, it is also used in senile osteoporosis in men, used in carcinoma of breast in post-menopausal women. So now take down the structure. Right. So as I've told you, it is testosterone. It is one of the most important male reproductive hormones, and it is a natural androgen. It's mainly used in the replacement therapy in men with hypogonadism, used in senile osteoporosis in men, used in carcinoma of breast and in postmenopausal women. Right, let's move on to the next. So this is hydrocortisone. So take down the structure. Right. So the drug is hydrocortisone. It is a short-acting glucocorticoid. It is the drug of choice for replacement therapy in acute adrenal insufficiency. So it's mainly used in replacement therapy, and it is a drug of choice in replacement therapy in acute adrenal insufficiency. Adverse effects of they cause osteoporosis, gastric ulcers, immunosuppression, secondary infections. Apart from these hydrocortisone or steroids, they cause drug-induced or steroids-induced diabetes mellitus, so which can be reversible. This is because of insulin sensitivity decreases in such cases. So of late, we have been giving these steroids to corona patients as well. So since they are lifesavers, patients who are put on steroids, the mortality rate has come down, but it has got some adverse effects. Apart from these adverse effects like osteoporosis, GA ulcers, immunosuppressions, and then secondary infection, they tend to cause a rise in blood sugar levels. So this is because of decrease in sensitivity. So decrease in sensitivity of the insulin, which is reversible upon cessation of the drug or stopping of the drug. So the drug given above is hydrocortisone. It is a short-acting glucocorticoid and is a drug of choice for replacement therapy in acute adrenal insufficiency. Adverse effects are osteoporosis, GA ulcers, immunosuppression, and then secondary infections. So look at this picture. Take down the structure. So this is thyroxine. So identify the drug. The questions asked are identify the drug, mention the dose of the drug. Right. So the given above drug is thyroxine. It is a thyroid hormone mainly used in the treatment of endemic goiter cretinism as well as mixed feeding. So the dosage to be given is 12.5 micrograms to 175 micrograms depending on the requirements. So mainly this thyroxine is used in the treatment of hypothyroidism, a condition wherein there is increased levels of thyroid stimulating hormone levels and decrease in thyroid hormones. So the dose to be given is depending upon the levels of TSH, the dose can be titrated from 12.5 micrograms to 175 micrograms per day. And thus you can bring down the TSH levels. So the spotters consisted of two scientists, that is Sir Ramnath Chopra, who was an eminent pharmacologist of Indian origin, was born in Pakistan, now in Pakistan, Gujranwala. He was a military service doctor and he has written a couple of books, and then he was awarded with knighthood by the British Empire and hence called as Sir. And then we had one of the greatest eminent pharmacologists of the century, Sir Alexander Fleming, whose accidental discovery has served as a boon to many soldiers in the Second World War. He discovered penicillin, which was an accidental discovery, and hence he was awarded Nobel Prize with, he shared Nobel Prize with a couple of other eminent personalities and was awarded knighthood in 1944. And then we had acetylcholine as a spotter, and then adrenaline, non-adrenaline, and then sulfonamides, estrogen, testosterone, and then steroids like hydrocortisone and then thyroxine. So with this, we have come to the spotters are over. Apart from this, we have other spotters which will be dealt by other professors. So they'll ask you spotters in exams, you are supposed to write 2 or 3 points. And if at all they're asked, these are asked in viva voce, you are supposed to elaborate them. If at all the same thing is asked in theory, you need to write more points to score more marks. So that concludes my class. I hope you understood.